Hello, folks. Thank you for checking in on our TRINI Corner episode today. And on this episode, we're speaking to Trinidadian-born Stephon Benjamin, who is based in Grenada, an entrepreneur who I need to talk to you about. And you need to talk to him about some things going forward. But here goes. Hi folks, welcome to TRINI Corner, brought to you by Caribbean Airlines and our dear J. Andre Laveau, Consul General in New York of Trinidad and Tobago. Ozzie Stewart, as you know, very grateful that you've checked in with us, giving flowers to deserving impactors who by their careers and lives are impacting the Trinidadian diaspora as well as the world, I believe, in general that need to know. Every story leaves a mark. Every voice builds a movement. Now, the spirit of On the Call with Ozzie can travel with you, worn, shared, and supported across the world. Visit us for more merch on thecallpodcast.com/store. Check it out. Thank you. On this episode, I'm shining light on Mr. Stephon Benjamin, entrepreneur who advocates for economic stimulation and more. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, drop a comment, check out our membership page, and then check us out again on our after show, ITC, Inside the Call, for the second conversation, second part of who's Mr. Stephon Benjamin is. And you know, it offers you a personal view, only found on our membership page, not anywhere else, not on your YouTube, not on your IG, none of that stuff, for you members only. So stick around. Now, I am going to open up to you who Mr. Benjamin is. Stephon Benjamin's journey is a testament to resilience, education, and innovation shaped by a rich family legacy. Born in Trinidad into a family with deep-rooted entrepreneurial spirit, his great-grandmother, though poor in the 40s, made a significant impact by owning a car and spearheading a factory that exported goods to Antigua. Her determination influenced multiple generations, including Stephon's mother and grandmother, both of whom embraced entrepreneurship. His mother, despite struggling with dyslexia, demonstrated a remarkable talent for business. She began selling sandwiches in 1995, was gifted a car to repair, and parlayed that opportunity into a flourishing restaurant. Her drive pushed her to seek loans and navigate challenges, though she was diagnosed with diabetes at 32, still worked hard. Stephon's educational path included attending St. George's University in Grenada, where he earned dual degrees in international business, finance, and economics from 2009 to 2014. He worked with Grenada Investment Development Corporation, otherwise known as GIDC, from 2016 to 2021, focusing on enhancing efficiency and streamlining operations for businesses in Grenada. His pivotal role in initiatives such as the Grenada Agritourism Policy Setting Workshop highlighted investment opportunities for small and micro businesses. Currently, Stephon served as Deputy Commissioner General for the Grenada Pavilion at Expo 2020, where he promoted Grenadian entrepreneurship on a global stage. Parallelly, he also operated as a Cambridge business consultant, providing valuable advice on business planning, marketing, record keeping, and export readiness for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. Yep, cool. Moving on. Stephon's ability to see and seize opportunities was further exemplified by his efforts in the Public Service Committee and collaborations with midterm agencies and the Ministry of Youth. He actively championed small business policies and was involved in evaluating programs designed to uplift entrepreneurs. His sessions on investment opportunities have inspired many to embrace entrepreneurship in Grenada, particularly in sectors that blend agriculture and tourism, with an unwavering belief in the potential of Grenadian entrepreneurs. Mr. Stephon Benjamin embodies the essence of a modern leader, one who values education, community collaboration, and sustainable development. His steadfast commitment to his roots and vision for the future positions him as a pivotal figure in Grenada's economic narrative, committed to steering the nation toward a prosperous and inclusive entrepreneurial landscape. And now we're going to go chat with Mr. Benjamin, aka Benji. So, Mr. Benjamin, can you share some key life experiences that inspired your journey into entrepreneurship?
My mother. It literally starts with my mother. Coming here in 1994, not having many resources really, but understanding that she had a 10-year-old to take care of, and deciding that, working for $800, $1,000 just didn't cut it.
That's a week?
That's a month.
A month.
And at this time, your rent is like about $600.
Right.
So there's nothing left over really.
Right.
And she decided, you know what? She had a grandmother in Trinidad that taught her how to cook. Thank God for my adoption. This lady did teach my mother how to cook, taught her how to bake. And she was the person that every time a class came up, decorate a cake, learn how to make bouquets.
Right.
She's good with hands. So she took all these little things. And she saw an opportunity. At the time, one of the most, how should I put it, affluent neighborhoods was being constructed, that is Lansepines. And she got a basket, put together a few $100s, started selling sandwiches, juice, and it literally took her a week and a half before someone stopped and said, hey, do you want a car? Long story short, gentleman offered her a ride, saw that,
She didn't know that person?
Didn't know the man. Gentleman said to her, you are a young lady that I admire, although I've only known you for 20 minutes, because you don't find people your age group taking the initiative to try something different. Right. And he said to her, I have a car that I was about to get someone to tow to the dump. Has a few problems, but if you're willing to take a shot at it, fix it up, you're welcome to have it. When this car arrived at home, we could see through the floor. It was rotted at the bottom, but my mother found someone, the guy got it started. She paid him a few $100, found herself a driver, worked a deal out with him, and then for the next 4 months, she went out and was able to generate money. And
how old were you then?
I was 10. I was 10. This is 1995, so I was 10.
So that's major. How was your family's entrepreneurial background then influence your approach to business?
And I'll give credit to the women mostly in my family. Even my mother's sisters have all taken some sort of entrepreneurial journey of their own. Women in my family don't seem to do well in formal jobs, to be quite honest. And that's on my mother's side and even on my father's side, because my father's little sister owns this huge business in Philadelphia. Very proud of her, because this is someone who left Trinidad with, once again, not much resources, but she had skills and built herself a geriatric nursing business that I can rank with anyone else out there. And this is someone who now has the freedom to do what she wants. Travels most of the year, but is still very locked into her business because everything has to go through her before it gets out. So, the women in my family have definitely given me that drive, given me that inspiration that if you can dream it up, you can execute it, time, understanding, patience, discipline, all those things.
What motivated you to pursue dual degrees?
To be honest, I didn't want to go to university. I had zero intention to go. And my mother said, you know what, you're going. And I said, why? And she said, because if your father had the opportunity to go, he would have gone. Unfortunately, life denied him that opportunity. She said, I don't think I have the smarts to do it. However, you're going, because her argument was, even if I turned out to be nothing in life, she could put those degrees on her kitchen counter and say, listen, I sent him. He didn't do anything, but he could if he wanted to.
Right.
So that was it. And then when my mother died in 2012, I said, you know what? You got to make the best of it. This woman literally killed herself to ensure that you went to university. Because my mother died in the US working, and she didn't have to do it. She did it because her restaurant closed. She just couldn't do the long hours anymore. Finding quality helpers and employees is unfortunately not, the easiest thing to do. And the easiest way for her to get income was to travel to the States and work. Geriatric nursing is what she was doing at the time, domestic stuff. And had she been home, she would have been safe. She ended up in a diabetic coma. And because her employer didn't go down to check on her, she spent 6 to 7 hours, not being able to move, and then went into a diabetic coma. There'd be no way I'd spend 6 hours not checking in on my mother. So I decided, this woman literally killed herself to ensure that you finish university. And I had 3 semesters to go. And I said, how can I maximize my 3 semesters? And I started going through the guidebook. And the guidebook said, well, if you do 6 courses, here's an entire second degree. And the only reason I don't have 2 degrees and a minor is because the particular minor I wanted to do, which was political science, was stopped the semester before I signed on. And I would actually have a minor in political science, because at some point I think that's my next career shift, is to get into public service.
I think so too.
Thank you.
Next step, it looks like you're already in it. Anyway, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you first started working in your mother's business?
So I started at 10.
Yeah.
Very first restaurant, my job was to clean floors, pack the fridge, wash wares. And the challenge was understanding that your mother and your employer are 2 different people. She's still your mother, but if you're required to get here and do your job, you're not getting off just because you're her child. And she said to me, I demand a lot of my employees, I demand a lot of myself. I'm going to demand the same thing of you. Now, if you're sick and you can't do it, understood, but outside of that, or you having something to do at school. So, for example, if I had something that was due at school and I couldn't do something this evening, that's okay, you just do it tomorrow.
You're not getting away from it.
Now, to be fair though, she was also fair on the compensation side. This is I started secondary school in 1996, and all my friends got either between $2 and $5 a day. So $2 for the people who had lunch from home, and $5 for those who didn't. I got between 10 to 15. So I was considered rich as a kid in school because I had disposable income. So when my friends were getting $50, I had $200 or $300 in my account. So as a kid, I paid for not most, but I paid for a lot of our outings. A lot of those KFC runs. And I didn't mind, because I wouldn't say it made me popular because I had a very small circle in school. But me and my circle were that entwined.
I guess it puts you in a whole frame of mind in terms of, finances and responsibilities.
It taught me how to manage money very early on.
Could you elaborate on your role at the GIDC, Grenada Investment Development Corporation, and the projects that were particularly impactful during your tenure?
So I'll start my tenure by saying that the biggest impact came once again, and I think the women in my life have been extraordinary. I got a job at GIDC because there was a lady called Keisha Mitchell. Ms. Mitchell is still there. She's VP of my department of business development, and quite instrumental because I went in for my internship, was interviewed to do an internship there in 2013. My internship lasted like 3 months. When the job opened up in 2016, Ms. Mitchell literally called me and said, listen, I think you should apply for this. You had an amazing internship with us. We've had a great relationship in between that because, I was called back in to do 1 or 2 things for the company. And she said, I want you to apply. I can't promise you the job because it's not in my hands, but please apply. And I must say that woman's tutelage was amazing. Best boss I've even had, even better than my mother, because...
But what were your duties?
Well, so essentially I was the person that was geared towards getting people export ready.
Export ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially if your small business came in and you were not a startup, I didn't deal with startups. I dealt mainly with people who already existed. And the idea was to now upgrade you and get you export ready. So in that form, I usually helped people to restructure their businesses, access loans, access grants. I've done everything from a little bit of human resources to now finding out what are the different licenses or things that you need to get into in order to get into certain countries or to even leave Grenada.
So then you also have to have some knowledge as to what the other countries need.
Yes.
So that's a lot of work.
Not really, because
You enjoyed what you did.
I enjoyed what I did. And like I said, I had at the time what I considered the greatest boss in the world. So
I know how that feels. That's an experience I had when I first got into the garment industry, and I got in working with someone who's like a
yeah.
tiger.
Yeah.
What strategies do you believe are most effective for helping small businesses become export ready?
So I believe that small businesses have to know. Well, I'll start with the ownership and drive.
Right.
Because small businesses usually rely on the willpower of their owners.
Right.
Or owner.
Right.
And if they're not run by dynamic people, their journey usually isn't very dynamic.
Right.
So I think it really starts with a lot of self-motivation. It really starts with that person believing they can do it.
Right.
A little bit of narcissism, because it takes that I can do it attitude.
Am I narcissistic? I don't know. But
I
anyway.
think people who get up and get
Right.
do have a little bit of narcissism in
Yeah.
them. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's that belief that gets you over the hump.
Right.
They also have to now be willing to take information. Because while you're self-driven, you have to be able to willing to take information and to now partner and parley with other stakeholders. Right. I think if you have those two things, all the other things are just kind of cut and dry. So it really starts with being able to motivate self and then absorb
Right.
your surroundings.
Right. Good. How do you identify investment opportunities for those small and micro businesses in Grenada?
In Grenada. When people come to me and they say, okay, I want to start a business, and they know they just want to be an entrepreneur, they have no idea where they want to start. I usually ask them, what's their passions?
Right.
What do you like? What do you want to do? What's your hobbies? I usually find if it's something that you're interested in, it's a lot easier for you to have that entrepreneurial journey. Yes, you can spot opportunities, but I think with self, it helps. Now, if, for example, that doesn't work, it's not something you can commercialize or something you want to commercialize, then I start looking at what are the areas in where money can be made. At the end of the day, we are a tourism agriculture island. And while people can argue that those two are maybe difficult or, not necessarily what they want to get into, I think that's where the bulk of the opportunities lie. And tourism and agriculture go hand in hand. That's, I think, one of the mistakes people make. They literally go hand in hand.
So for a company like a technological company or a film-based company
Right.
looking for some sort of investment opportunity, what would be the advice you'd have for them?
I would start them off by looking at the numbers. I would say, let's look at the numbers first. Let's look at where Grenada spends its money. Let's look at where the other businesses spend their money. And that would be import-export. And then we can find the gaps. Our island, I think services usually do a lot better than retail. Retail, you need to have a bigger pocket, in my opinion. If you're a small person that has limited resources, I usually recommend something based in the service industry. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work, you can sell off the equipment.
Right.
Retail, you're usually stuck with a bunch of inventory and goods
Overhead.
that takes a lot longer
Right.
to move. Also, your overheads to get there are usually higher.
Right. Correct.
So I look at a number of things. I look at what you're into, the industry that you're into, that you may like, what are the opportunities in the current economy, where the money is being spent, or where the money is going to be spent next year. So, crazy enough,
Go ahead.
my strategies have ranged from going to YouTube and the internet and Googling what are the 10 best ideas on an island, to as looking at the import-export bill and saying, okay, so government invested $10 million more in this sector
Right.
this year, which means the sector should take a little bit of an uptick.
Right.
Okay, you know what, maybe there's an opportunity here.
Right.
So it's vast and it's varied, and I kind of go crazy off the head sometimes.
And if someone were needed to be in need of your services, how do they get in contact with you?
So via Facebook, via Instagram, we have a page called Cambridge Business Consulting.
Okay.
My business partner is quite known. just for being herself. But we do have a Facebook page, we do have an Instagram. People can contact us there. It's very name of the business. Usually, because of my networking, and because I've worked with so many people tend to recommend me. That's probably my biggest, that's my niche.
Source.
That's my thing. I do get, hey, Benji, John recommended me. So I'm calling to find out, can I get this particular service? So that's, in a nutshell, usually how you get to us, via either networking or going to our Facebook page.
Can you discuss the significance of the Business Development Center that you helped establish and its impact on the local entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Help is a big word because it really did exist before I got there. I am proud of my accomplishments there and what I did provide. But the BDC should be the beginning of most entrepreneurial journeys on this island. It's not, unfortunately, because I still think a lot of people don't know it exists, although it's existed for over 20 years. We registered businesses, got them started. We provided advice. We provided, I was people's accountant at some point. They came to me and say, Benji, I need to do my taxes. Please help. And I had to sit down and go through those mountain of bills and tell you where you stood, in an accounting ledger. So the Business Development Center has provided almost every service under the sun. Where I think the gap is that, unfortunately, we don't have a funding arm. If you provide help, you should be able to provide some sort of funding to complete the circle. I think that's the only thing that is missing from the Business Development Center. How
do you see the intersection of agriculture and tourism shaping Grenada's economy in the future?
Okay, great. So we import about $400 million worth of items a year. 50% of that is food. So we have tourists. In the last 5 years, our tourist numbers have gone up, despite COVID, because even after COVID, we still continue that trajectory upwards. And COVID proves we have no food security. The boats start coming, and we start running out of things. Every square inch of this island is, agricultural land. You can grow things anywhere. I mean, where you're located right now, the yard has avocados, cherry trees, and coconuts and bananas. And you can see the bounty just where you are. And this isn't the agriculture side of the island. So imagine if you went out to the breadbasket. Now, agriculture and tourism cross-sect at first at the hotels. We still have hotels that, unfortunately, are importing the bulk of what they feed their guests. I think if we were able to reduce that number in a very short space, we would add millions of dollars to our economy, which can now be dispersed across every other industry and sector. And that is just with the hotels. If we went deeper and we started tackling our food security and ensuring that we grew, we ate most of what we grew, that's tens of millions of dollars more. We import 90% of the chicken that we eat on this island. 90%. And Grenadians eat chicken every day. I kid you not.
There are no chicken farms?
There are, but they're
not enough.
Small. They're not enough. Unfortunately, our last big investment, when I can't say why, but someone made an investment a few years ago. Everything state of the art, 3 huge chicken runs, capable of doing, I think, about 40,000 birds. And I just saw it on sale on one of the real estate sites. And it was disheartening because I know this gentleman probably put his all into this thing, and I can't say why it didn't work. I don't know. I hope somebody local does take the initiative and purchase this from the gentleman and keeps it local. I would really hate to see it go to a big corporation from abroad.
Right. What lessons have you learned from your experiences at the international events like Expo 2020, especially pertaining to promoting Grenadian entrepreneurship?
I've learned that we still have a lot more work to do. We still have a lot more work to do in terms of how we market ourselves, how we promote, even how we bottle and package things. Those are, I think, our major failings. We have amazing products, world-class products. Where we miss the gap is in convincing people that we do, or teaching them that we do have world-class products, and also getting to them in the right size, the right volumes. Those, I think, are where we miss the gaps.
Can you share an example of a successful initiative or workshop you coordinated at the BDC, Business Development Center, that had a lasting effect on participants?
We started a Global Entrepreneurship Week while I was there. So I'll speak about two. We started a Global Entrepreneurship Week while I was there. And wasn't my initiative, but I was a big part of it. My department really, came together and we put this out. It still exists. And I think during that particular week, which is in November, we've convinced a lot of people, to start an entrepreneurial journey. We've also convinced entrepreneurs that this is not something to be taken lightly, that they can turn it into just more than, an extra income or something they do to supplement, their household. That these things are solid business ideas that, given some resources, some time, and the right direction and the right directive, can be turned into massive powerhouses. And I've seen some of these small businesses grow legs and become, thriving things.
There was a second one.
Right. So second initiative, we had something called Young Innovators Challenge. And we did 2 rounds of that. And we birthed some really great businesses. We had entrepreneurs out of that, like Corey Zufeld, who has digital growth. We had other entrepreneurs in small businesses. Some of the names escape me right now, but I know some of these people are still thriving. Danny Cronier. Mr. Cronier does wooden bows from recycled material. He was able to actually showcase at the expo in Dubai.
Okay.
So that's just an example of someone taking a passion, and he started these wooden bows because he wanted a wooden bow.
Right.
Now it's a thriving business where he's exporting as far as Canada.
Right.
And those things were birthed out of the Young Innovators Challenge.
When they had to go to the expo, did they get any help funding-wise to get from here to there?
The government took on most of the cost via the expo.
Yeah.
So a lot of entrepreneurs were, their goods were carried there.
Right.
Based on the deal that the expo and Grenada worked out.
Were you part of that, getting them?
No. So unfortunately, no. I came on board literally days before we left the island.
Got it.
So I have to give credit to my 2 colleagues at the time.
Yeah.
Those ladies were very instrumental in getting that done.
As an advocate for economic stability, what specific changes do you believe are necessary for fostering a sustainable entrepreneurship environment in Grenada?
It has to start at the primary school level. It really has to become a culture, and it really has to start young. If I've seen the 10-year-old that's been taught the difference between receiving money and earning money, turn it into something, given the right support. I've seen kids turn hobbies into businesses. I really think the foundation has to start at the primary school level. So, for example, when I was in school, we had the 4-H club. Not junior academy, I can't remember the name right now. But those programs really provide kids with a foundation and teach them, how to start thinking outside the box.
So since then, are there initiatives that are put in place?
Yes, so Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is coming back on board. I know the 4-H club does exist at certain schools still. I think more initiatives need to be placed into those particular institutions. Because if you teach a 5-year-old or 6-year-old that, if you go pick the fruits in your family's yard and go turn it into juice, you can make yourself $100 to go get those.
I think the idea is for them to do it once, because if they do it once and they see, oh, wow.
Yes.
You know.
So a little bit of formal structure, and not every family has parents that know how to do it or have the time to do it.
Right.
So I think if these programs are actually added to their curriculum, it does provide that foundation that as they grow, you start walking them through other steps.
Right.
Also, entrepreneurs on this island really do need financial support. How we get it is a different conversation, but there needs to be an easier avenue rather than the commercial banks or credit unions for them to access funding. Because I can tell you about amazing entrepreneurs. A lot of them being women, but unfortunately, lack of access to funding has delayed their growth and their ability to really turn their products into.
And have you been able to help navigate around that?
Some of them, small capacity. Like I said, at my colleagues and I at the BEC, we really tried our best. We chased every grant we found. We went, we provided every funding opportunity by writing documents for people. In my personal capacity, a business plan that might cost you $2,000 will cost you $275 at the BDC. So if you came to me personally and you went to them and you get the same quality work, it's a lot cheaper. So it's a lot more accessible. We even had programs where for periods, those $275 plans were free.
So people you hear,
Yeah.
You need the help. He's told you where again to?
Business Development Center at the GIDC. It's located in Frequente in the industrial development park there. You go in, you ask for the BDC, and they will help. They will provide everything you need.
What are your future goals for the Grenadian business community, and how do you plan to continue advocating for its growth?
Future goals for the community growth. I'd like to see more people get involved. I'd like to see people make bigger investments. Lots of the things that are owned by foreigners on this island could be owned by locals.
How do you make them see that, though?
I think
because this has been happening for a long time.
I think programs like this, programs like yours, people speaking out, people having more of that. Okay, so I listen to lots of podcasts. 99% of them are American.
Oh, okay.
So more local podcasts, more people getting involved, more promotion of what we are, who we are, the opportunities by us. Even in my capacity, I think one of my aims this year is to start a podcast speaking about business.
Good.
I have a friend that has a studio. I have another friend that has all this equipment.
Right.
And we said, you know what, we're working it out right now. Let's start something. And I think by promoting, educating, telling people of opportunities, people will naturally, get there.
Right.
Culturally, we've been taught, get a job, work exceptionally hard, save your money, get a loan, pay for your house, and see about your family. So most people have their money either stuck underneath their bed or in a bank account that earns them 2%. We've not been taught about stocks and bonds and all these other financial instruments that can now make us wealth while we're sleeping. And we're not even talking big investments here. In terms of the investment space, we have to become less risk adverse. That can be done by us producing proper numbers. One of the national issues we have here is that information is non-existent. No fault of the people that produce the information, I just think they don't have enough resources. So for example, if you go out to the statistics office, the people there are great. I've worked with them in the past. Unfortunately, it's a very small department with limited resources. They would love to produce every statistic on the island for you. They can only produce so much. So data is hard to come by. And there are people who will not make an investment unless they can see real hard data. Me telling them, no, go ahead, is not good enough. They need to see the numbers.
So how do you make that change then? I mean, what do you do? Who are the people that you can get to help get that data?
It has to be circular. It has to be circular because the stakeholders are both public and private.
Right.
It's the government offices.
Right.
It's also private individuals taking risk. It's also private individuals like my business partner, myself, coming on board and saying, you know what, in our capacity, maybe we can find the funding to produce some of this data because we are consultants.
Right, and that data also helps you.
It also helps us.
And helps you.
Exactly.
Your guys, yeah.
There are businesses who do level reports every year. Maybe there's somebody needs to come along and put a mechanism in place where you can find all these reports, all this information in one area.
Right.
So once again, individual like myself,
right.
There are lots of other consultants on the island. Maybe we have to get proactive.
Or in terms of, one of the things to do would be if you know the other people doing this and everybody needs that information, come together.
Absolutely. One of the areas I think it can be done very quickly is the creative sector. For some reasons, the guys in the creative sector unofficially have had a great working relationship from the best of my knowledge, because I have a few friends in there.
Right.
And they all seem to get along, they all seem to share information.
Right.
I think if they actually put something together formally, and government is now able to give them a little bit of funding.
Right.
That's a sector that can now provide all their data, provide all the information, and now, that harmony can lead to massive growth.
Yes.
In that particular area.
Yes. So what are you looking for with reference to your company?
In reference to Cambridge, we are hoping this year to grow a little. As a company, we really advocate for the small entrepreneur. What we charge people compared to what they would have to pay for services at other persons, there's a huge difference.
But there's the results as well.
It's the results as well. It's also our way of getting in, because at the end of the day, we are business people.
Right.
It's the gap that we fill.
Right.
Now, if you got $50,000, you can find people who have probably been in this game longer than I have, who have more experience, even way more qualification. Do they have the same drive? I believe so. But because I'm a smaller company, because I'm not as bogged down as they may be with bigger projects, you may get a more tailored experience through us. That's maybe the advantage, and I probably will pay more attention than a larger company.
Right.
Because I don't have as many accounts.
Right.
For now. But that's the advantage for now.
Right.
Also, me and my business partner, we're still very passionate about business. Right. We live, breathe, and sleep, business. I get excited talking to people about business opportunities and the way to get things done. I have friends that are probably tired of hearing me, drive by and go, oh, we could do that. But that's just how my mind works.
Right.
If I have to say what my special sauce is, I see opportunity in everything. I was at university and we had this tree outside palm tree, where the thorns on it, I used to pick them and pick my teeth after eating. And I went, ooh, a natural toothpick. We could grow a field of these.
Because they're all you have to do is get up and get them. Yeah.
You just have to cut them and we can say, what, we're not harming the tree.
Right.
And my friends would laugh at me and I said to them, no, you're laughing, but somewhere out there, someone's probably doing this and making a mint. So I never see, you can't tell me no.
Right.
No, my mother never told me no.
Right.
She told me yes or later.
Right.
And my father said to me, the only place I'm free is in my head, because I can imagine and dream anything. So I don't believe in no. I believe in it might not be able to be done right now, or it may take some resources, but it could be done.
And with all of that, let's talk about it, right?
Right.
So tell the audience again how to find you.
Okay. So we are Cambridge Business Consulting. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. If you call 403-6687, that's one of our numbers. You can also find us at NC Cambridge Business at gmail.com.
Do you do also international?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Consultation.
So my business partner is a lady by the name of Nico Cambridge. If you have contacts for Nico, you can also find us that way. Internationally, as late as last year, we worked with a consortium out of the US where they were trying to enter Grenada to do some business. And we did provide some consulting for them.
So there you go, guys. Stephon is multi-layered, but his passion is for the small business to grow. And his passion is also for the community within the Grenadian, diaspora, if you want to call it that, to come together and be uplifted on different levels. So check him out, and thank you very much for hanging in there with us. Every story leaves a mark. Every voice builds a movement. Now, the spirit of On the Call with Ozzie can travel with you, worn, shared, and supported across the world. Visit us for more merch on thecallpodcast.com/store. Check it out. Thank you. Thank you, Benji, for being here, and thank you for staying for the next part, our insight for our membership page. I appreciate that. Thank you, audience, for being here. Thank you to Caribbean Airlines and our Consul General of Trinidad and Tobago in New York, J. Andre Laveau. Thank you, Cheese. Thank you to the O2C team. Thank you for subscribing, liking, dropping a comment. And remember, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny side of the street safely. Be health conscious, kind to one another, And don't forget to give thanks for the little and big gifts as we strive through this beautiful life. See you on the next call. Inside the call. I'm waiting.